Hi there, good morning to you. You're welcome to Newsroom here on GHOne TV. I am Mohammed. Coming up in the next 60 minutes. This morning we go into the conversation on keeping long hair in senior high schools. And we ask, does it impede academics? Will it open a can of worms?
An ongoing debate in social media about haircuts and size and length of hair in secondary schools. We will not tolerate it today, we will not tolerate it tomorrow, and so long as we are molding character.
We'll also touch on the use of mother tongue as language of instruction in our various schools. We'll also touch on food and beverages as the association laments smuggling issues causing financial loss to members. We'll speak to them in a bit. Elsewhere in Ivory Coast, preliminary another term for Ouattara. We have details of these and many others all in this 60 minutes built. Stay tuned in. Hello again, I am Mohammed. Mixed reaction over senior high school hairstyle policies following Education Minister's dismissal of calls for reforms. The debate over students' hairstyles resurfaced after a viral video showed a senior high school student cutting her hair to comply with existing regulations. While some have called for a review of the policy, the Education Minister insists there is no need for changes. He made the remarks during the anniversary celebration of Maoli School in Ho.
There is an ongoing debate in social media about haircuts and size and length of hair in secondary schools. We will not tolerate it today, we will not tolerate it tomorrow, and so long as we are molding character. If we give in to hair today, tomorrow it will be shoes, and the next day it will be the way they dress. Therefore, as part of our disciplinary measures, headmasters and GES, you are accordingly empowered to take full control of how students behave on your campuses. So anybody who thinks that your child will walk into any institution of learning as if that child, forgive my words, was to attend a beauty contest, the school environment is not for that purpose and not cut for that purpose, and would not tolerate that as an institution.
Let's stay on this conversation and the whole hullabaloo about whether or not to make reforms when it comes to keeping certain hairstyles in our secondary schools. And I've been joined by an educationist and a former boss for GES, Charles Aheto Chega. Mr. Chega, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you too.
It's been a while. Now, Mr. Chega, is this conversation necessary?
Well, you just said what is in my mouth. It would have been the first statement I would have made, that this conversation is not necessary. Any parent who is a parent worth his salt will realize that as long as their children are brought into the school environment, we expect them to behave as children. Now, if you decide to groom your child and keep the child, perm the hair and bring it to school, and we know that it is not natural, we will stop you from doing that. And I don't know what is difficult about this for parents, and people are now running helter-skelter about this simple regulation, which is intended to help our children. When they leave secondary school and they are of age, they can even go and do sakura and do anything to their hair. We are not bothered because now they are of age, which is then 18, and we can afford them to do whatever they want to do. So as long as they remain children, headmasters and school management will still have control over them. and will ensure that their behavior conforms to the general dictates of how everybody must behave as a child.
But many also say that this will not in any way, shape or form impede the academics.
It has nothing to do with academics. In fact, well, maybe I'm wrong. It has something to do with academics. Now, and I'll tell you what it has to do with academics. So, say, for example, in this particular situation of the student whose hair was cut, you can't sit in front of a student with the way we have structured our classrooms, and another student is sitting behind you, and you come with a bushy hair over and above how the person will see the board. Now, are you being fair to the person who is sitting behind you? I say that you have even got an eye problem, and that is why you are sitting in front. What reason would you want to keep a good hair in front of the person who is sitting behind you? And would the headmaster or the teacher be right to say, now go and sit to the back with your bushy hair, when in fact he or she knows that you are not likely to see what is written on the board? So again, that is how it affects academics. The outcome has to do with consensus and conformity with discipline and the way children have to behave in school. I mean, it is important. All Ghanaians are interested in having our children dress well and look kempt. As long as you are unkempt, there is a way to ensure that you do stay unkempt in the classroom situation. That is all there.
But can we not also allow it? Then we can regulate and control it. Do you think it will get out of hand?
What are we allowing? What are we allowing? What are we allowing? What we are allowing is that we are giving every parent the right to bring the child to school with any kind of hairstyle that they want, or we want to have all the children conform and behave like the children in a school. I believe the next discussion that will come about will be about school uniform. I'm waiting for that one to come up on the on social media, and then we all start discussing it. Let's begin to. We have reasons for doing all of these things, and it is important for all of us to be of one mind and ensure that we raise our children well. All of us who are even in this older generation who have become what we are today, and who are now beginning to change the way our children behave, know that thing that we used to do in school, was beneficial to us in terms of our conception of life and our behavior ultimately that has brought us to where we are. I don't know why we are the same people now leading a whole crusade towards ensuring that there should be a laissez-faire situation in our schools and parents can do whatever they like. It's not possible.
Mr. Chiga, thank you very much. We do appreciate your contribution with us this morning. That's Charles Ahetu Chega. He's a former boss for GES and an educationist. Let's find out what your thoughts are. There's been varied reactions on social media. Let's get a number of them. Nanama Akwa joins us with those thoughts. Nanama, what are people saying? How are they reacting?
It's interesting, Lily. I mean, this is something that affects everybody. So let's see. Let's move over to Instagram. We have Unwavering Souls who says, does this policy apply to foreign students in Ghana and SHS? I also want to ask that question. Vera says the same rule should apply to all foreign nationals as well. We have Phoebes who says, well said, honourable. In Kansas says, wake up, my brother. Having hair doesn't prevent one from not achieving excellence. By the way, if you don't know, hair is a major part of one's dignity, especially for women. Wake up. We have Real Efia. How does keeping of hair affect one's character? PJ says, that's all. This is very right because students won't get that time to be visiting the salon whilst on campus. We also have Justina saying that Asians are the most intelligent people on this earth, but female students keep their hair because intelligence or not, intelligence or IQ is not about the hair. It's about training and learning. We also have Mawanyo, president in the making. You're just full of wisdom. We also have GHOne, simpliciter. They can go and create their schools if they ain't ready to obey the rules. We have here, I never knew hair affects character. Tell me something else I don't know, sir. When we move over to X, we have Nana Kwesi Saforo. We need such strict measures to instill discipline in our students. God bless you. And that's what we have time for. I think this conversation is going to rage on for some time. Lily, my name is Nanama Akwa. Back over to you.
Well, in this country, we engage in trivialities. Well, let's find out more reactions from the general public.
Based on SHS, I think they should trim their hair because, you see, even their uniform, it's not a university that you can do whatever you like. It's based on the school regulations. So basically, they have to trim their hair and go by the rules of the school. That's why they have uniform. They are not wearing their own attire. You can't wear jeans or any attire you want. That's the school prescription, that they should wear uniform. And with their hair, I think they should trim once again because according to, let's say, university like this, we don't have uniform for university students. You do whatever you like. But with SHS, they are grooming them, so there should be a lot of discipline with that one.
I am agree with the Minister of Education because, one, he wants the best for the children. When you look at the Muslim people, they always cover their hair as you are covering your head. They don't what do you call it, wave their head. They always cut their head and they have putting something to cover their head. But what the minister is saying is that he wants the best for the children. He wants the children to go to school to achieve something. Not they are going to school for function. You know the aim, the reason why you are going to school. Not I'm going to school so I'm guest so I'm going to make some light. No. You are going to achieve something.
In the olden days, the right thing have to be done. When you go to a stage, which is tertiary level, you pleat your hair. But as a senior high student, you have to cut your hair because they are still under teen. Many of them are not yet above their teenage age. So allowing them to pleat their hair is totally no.
I think it's not really a problem because at the end of the day, you still leave school and still go with your hair back. But until you have any medical conditions, I don't think this is supposed to be any problem.
Interesting comments. Now, Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu has directed the Ghana Education Service to strictly enforce the use of mother tongue instruction in all Ghanaian schools, according to the Education Minister. This directive forms part of efforts to reform the education sector while promoting the use of local languages in teaching and learning. Speaking at the launch of the free tertiary education program for persons living with disability, Haruna Idrisu stressed that the initiative seeks to encourage the use of local languages as a medium of instruction, particularly at the basic education level, to enhance comprehension and learning outcomes.
Mr. President, the story is told of a young girl whose teacher somewhere in the Ashanti region went in and was waxing English, teaching at that early stages of development. Then the child told the teacher that, so, Mr. President, in line with that and with your authority, I'm directing the Director General of the Ghana Education Service and the GES that from today, teacher use of mother tongue instruction is now compulsory in all Ghanaian schools. The GES is to ensure strict enforcement of this. That child, that Ghanaian child, was not born into an English family, but a proud Asante Akan family, and deserves to learn. This is part of President Mohammed's reset agenda.
Now, the Ministry of Education has clarified that the use of Ghanaian languages as a medium of teaching applies only from kindergarten to primary 3 and not throughout all basic school levels. This clarification follows a directive by the Sector Minister. We played that to you a while ago, that the compulsory use of Ghanaian languages in schools, which has sparked a widespread public debate. However, speaking at the launch of the Foundational Learning Action Tracker at the Accra College of Education, Deputy Education Minister Clement Apak stated that the clarification was necessary to resolve the ongoing discussions.
The Honorable Minister for Education, GHOne, has asked me to clarify that the policy directive he announced on Friday regarding the compulsory use of mother tongue as a medium of instruction in our public basic schools is confined to KG up to primary 3. In other words, KG and lower primary. Having clarified what seems to have given a few persons sleepless nights, I bring you greetings.
Let's now engage an education researcher and policy analyst, Divine Ekpe. Mr. Ekpe, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Do we need this at this time? And is it important that we infuse the local language as a language of instruction in these basic levels? We understand the clarification now that from kindergarten to primary 3.
All right, thank you, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, studies are very conclusive on the fact that when learners at early age are instructed in their local language or L1, they are able to catch up quickly in terms of literacy acquisition and overall learning outcome. So that is very conclusive. But when you look at the data across Africa, only 20% of early grade learners are instructed in their local language. And Ghana, we have been on this trajectory for long. It's not so. The minister's pronouncement is not coming as something new. We have over the years had national language and literacy policy, and we have implemented a number of programs to ensure that teachers instruct their learners in the L1 at the early age, i.e. KG up to primary 3. One of the 2 recent programs we had at the NALAB, and then the recent one is the transition to English. I think that one is currently running. NALAB has been implemented even over 10 years ago. So it is not anything new. It has been there. And I think what the minister has said, though some people would think it is something you know, it has been a system. The most critical thing for us now is to look at why it is not being implemented effectively. And that should be the centrality of the conversation.
You say that we need to structure this. How should we? I mean, the Education Ministry says it's just for kindergarten to primary 3 or basic 3. How do we structure it so that it serves its purpose, intended purpose?
The structuring has already been done, and that is why it is targeting the early grade learners, i.e. KG to primary 3. Sorry. The question, as I said, is to look at why it is not being done effectively, and that teachers or some teachers are still using the English language to instruct their students at that early grade. That is what we should be concerned about. Because, yes, it does not necessarily on paper translate into effective implementation if the support system is not there. So for me, what the minister's concern should have been to look at the challenges within the system that are accounting for teachers using the English language. And on top of my head, and also reading around some of the research works in the space, it is obvious that we have teacher capacity issue, and that's actually in twofold. Number one, teachers are posted to areas that they can instruct in that particular language of the learner. So they are handicapped. Somebody is posted to a community where ordinarily the teacher is supposed to instruct them in that community language or one of the approved L1 languages are supposed to be used, but a teacher cannot communicate in that, so it becomes a challenge. So it means that even the way we deploy teachers sometimes we don't take into account this particular policy implementation. And then the second part of the teacher capacity issue is that while some teachers also in their community can actually teach in the L1, it is one thing to know how to speak the community or the prevailing local language over there, but it's another thing to know how to use it to teach or instruct in it effectively. But we do not improve teachers' capacity on how they can use the L1 to instruct their learning. When we're having the NALA program, because it was a program being sponsored, I think, by USAID, there was resources, so teachers were being always supported, capacity building was being provided for them. There was a lot of monitoring. The circuit supervisors, then as they were called, would be on the field monitoring the implementation. But at the end of the project where resources have died off, then the monitoring also ebbed, and as much as continuous professional improvement for teachers has also ceased. So that is one of the challenges bedeviling the system. And then instructional materials. If you look at our educational space, availability of instructional resources is a challenge when it even comes to textbook and then also supplementary resources that teachers need to effectively teach. It becomes a challenge. And if using L1 to teach actually needs a lot of instructional materials, especially at the early grade. But we have experienced a lot of shortage of instructional materials in our basic schools over the year. Even prior to the introduction of the new curriculum, if you look at the student to pupil textbook ratio, very, very poor. I think we're doing about 30% of resource materials being available in school. And when we now have the new curriculum, we are now still developing or producing resources for the schools. We are still not reached the optimal level yet. So that is also a challenge. But again, moving beyond the school level factor, the parents are also a factor or variable when it comes to the inability of the system to effectively implement the L1 policy. Because some parents feel that their words taught in English language carry prestige. And if you are instructing their words in a school, that you are instructing them in a local language in a particular school, they feel that no, this is a low-grade school. So they want to send a child to private schools where they are always instructing their learners in the English language. They feel the measure of their children's ability to learn or the intelligence of their kids. It's actually about the ability to speak in English at that early age. So if the public school is promoting L1 at the early age and they are not teaching the children how to speak the L2, which is English, some parents feel that no, the education system is not good. It has a challenge. So it means that the parental buy-in is also a challenge. So these are some variables that are affecting the implementation. And I feel this is what we should be concerned about addressing, because pronouncement alone will not solve the problem. You can make a pronouncement and it will be effective today, it is compulsory. But that alone cannot change anything if we have not addressed some of these system challenges.
All right. Mr. Kwe, thank you very much. That's Divine Kwe. He is an educationist and policy researcher. Now, ensuring an inclusive society with minimal barriers, especially for persons with disability, remains a major concern for many advocates. Although Ghana has enacted legislation to reduce such barriers, not all challenges have been adequately addressed. One of the key challenges is language. It is on this basis that a sign language training organization, SILANEM, has embarked on a pragmatic initiative to train basic school children in sign language through its annual training and quiz competition.
Sustainable Development Goal 4, to which Ghana is a signatory, urges member states to ensure equal access to all levels of education and vocational training for the vulnerable, including persons with disabilities. Similarly, the Persons with Disabilities Act 2006, Act 715, outlines policies aimed at fostering an inclusive and accessible society for persons with disabilities. Despite these frameworks, language barriers continue to hinder communication, particularly for individuals with speech or hearing impediments in education, healthcare, and daily interactions. To help address this, the Sign Language Training Organisation, SILANEM, is equipping basic school pupils within the Takwa municipality with basic sign language skills. Executive member of SILANEM, Henry Arthur, emphasised the need to bridge the communication gap and promote inclusion through sign language education.
These are the many reasons inspired an organization, the best for navigation, called Sign Language Empowerment. Looking at the difficulties and the challenges that confront the deaf people, we decided to come up with an organization, SILANEM, in the year 2019. And the vision of this whole establishment was to bridge the gap between the deaf, the hard of hearing, and the hearing community. We realized that the deaf people, there's nothing wrong with them. They are not sick, but there is a disconnect between the deaf and the hearing. And that disconnect is a barrier. And the only way to cancel the barrier is to build a bridge. And the only way to build a bridge is through sign language. That gives birth to sign language empowerment.
Private schools and SHS coordinator at the Ghana Education Service in Takwa, Maxwell Arthur, the keynote speaker, commended SILANEM for the initiative and lauded its impact in building awareness and fostering inclusion among the youth.
In educating our school children in the municipality, sign language has been of an important language that our children need and we also need. You can all bear with me that our sign language learners have moved to another level in education. Sometimes those of us who do not understand the language, for that matter the sign language, find ourselves in a situation where sign language becomes very necessary and we have to hire an interpreter.
Newsroom returns after this breather. Stay tuned in. Welcome back. This is Newsroom here on GHOne TV, and I'm Lily Mohammed. Unsafe road practices and negligence have once again claimed lives in the northern region. 3 people are confirmed dead, 1 in critical condition, and 11 others injured following a tragic accident along the Zabzugu-Tatali highway. The victims were traders returning home from a nearby market when the disaster struck.
The journey back from the Kpekpalugu market was filled with laughter and relief for these traders from Zabzugu, until darkness turned joy into tragedy. Between 9:30 and 10 p.m., their vehicle collided with a stationary tricycle, locally known as a Motor King, which had been left on the road due to a mechanical fault. Moments earlier, an oncoming onion headlight glaring directly at them is believed to have temporarily blinded the driver, who crashed into the tricycle 2 people died instantly, while 2 others were rushed into critical condition to the Tamale Teaching Hospital, where 1 was later pronounced dead, bringing the death toll to 3.
He was trying to go the motoki, hit the motoki small, then he branched inside the bush. That's what happened. Then the car fall down. The women who were at the back, they fall on the roadside. Luckily me, I was in front, not inside the car, but on top of the car. So I don't know, it's like when he balanced the car, the thing raised me out. So me, I didn't fall in the middle of the road. I rather fall the edge of the road. So that's what I can narrate to you. I was sitting with my phone, so my phone didn't do anything. I got up on myself, no one helped me. Then I made a call, I called my brothers and they came.
The district chief executive for Tatale Sanguli, Mary Tagba, immediately cancelled her town hall meeting to visit the accident scene and coordinate emergency response efforts.
The extent of damage. So you can imagine the person who occupied the front seats. And imagine the people who sat at the side where their vehicle fell. Currently, for the driver is safe. And you can see it from the vehicle. The driver's side is safe. Now, we see the tricycle. The tricycle is also condemned beyond repairs. And then currently, we are waiting for the police and then all the officers in charge to come out with their reports.
At the Tatale District Hospital, the only medical doctor on duty, Dr. Mohammed Hafiz, appealed for urgent government support, citing a lack of medical infrastructure, hospital beds, and additional staff to handle emergencies.
Already the beds and the hospital was full to capacity. So we had to resort to, putting beds on the floor. But we had mattresses. We had to resort to try and see those who were a bit stable so that they can give up their beds for the critical ones. As for equipment and drugs, everything we had, the staff was there. It's just obviously the facility when it was first set up, I'm sure they envisioned a health center or a polyclinic. But now with this expanding community, this same hospital structure hasn't really improved. We have not added up. So there's always constraint to that. Now the facility is still the same structure, but now we are attending to a larger population of people.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Tatale Sanguli, William Ayo, together with the DCE, visited the injured and bereaved families, pledging to cover all medical expenses.
Who are involved in the accident, all their medical bills will be taken care of. So there's no any false alarm. Where am I going to get money to pay my medical bill? All their medical bills will be taken care of. There's no cause of alarm in that way. And also that they will also use this opportunity to thank those who ran to the scene last night, volunteered their car, and dropped the patients to the clinic here. We thank you very much.
Authorities say the tragedy underscores a growing concern over unsafe road practices, including poor lighting systems, unauthorized vehicle modifications, and inadequate traffic enforcement. Despite the presence of numerous police checkpoints, many defective vehicles continue to ply the roads unchecked, leaving innocent passengers to pay the ultimate price. The Zabzugu Tatale accident serves as yet another painful reminder of the urgent need for stricter road safety enforcement and public education to save lives.
Now, the Cybersecurity Authority has come under intense criticism of the draft amendment to the Cybersecurity Act 2022, Act 103A. The bill released by the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation on October 1 for public consultation set on October 24 deadline for feedback. However, several stakeholders have raised concerns about some of the provisions, describing them as problematic and potentially overreaching. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Fasia Yubian, former Minister of Information GHOne has voiced concern over the government's draft cybersecurity bill. His comment follows President Mohammed's recent announcement of plans to trace IP addresses of individuals spreading hate speech, aiming to hold them accountable. Speaking to journalists, Mr. Oponkoma described the draft bill as a dangerous encroachment on freedom of expression.
To say that what we are seeing appears to be a draft and that they want to consult on that draft. From what I have seen as a former information minister, this draft is dangerous, though it's not surprising. And let me explain why it's not surprising. It's not surprising because I think the president first announced it, that they are going to use the national security apparatus to go after people who make comments on social media that they consider, for whatever reason, whether it's under hate speech or it's under whatever, they consider it unfavorable. They're going to search for your IP addresses and then get the security apparatus to go after you. The president himself said it. So it's not surprising that his minister is now following up with a draft bill with such wild provisions in there. What is dangerous about it is that over the last set of decades, various countries have been moving away from criminalizing speech. There are other remedies for speech that may be deemed unfavorable, most of them civil, but not necessarily criminalizing it.
Right. Ibrahim Alassan is head of political desk and our parliamentary affairs correspondent. He joins me. Abi,
yes.
Help us understand this better.
Well, so there's an amendment. Mind you, if you followed the landscape, you realize at the point we're talking about a spy bill. And that was before the Muhammad Chapter 1 came to an end. There was a conversation in Parliament, especially from the minority side then, that government was seeking to pass a bill that was going to allow security agencies to spy on us. That bill never saw the light of day. Subsequently, when President Akufo-Addo came in 2022, the cybersecurity bill was passed. Now, what this is seeking to do is to introduce some amendments to the already existing bill. And of course, as you heard Kojo Oponkroma mention, it's ruffled some people in a different way. So, first of all, with this new amendment, it will be illegal for you to create what is termed a pseudo account. So if you create a social media account with a different identity rather than yours, it becomes an offense.
Okay.
Now,
how will they be able to identify that this is a different identity other than mine?
Once the Cybersecurity Authority, and mind you, this bill is also making room for appointment of inspectors.
Okay.
And these inspectors can come to a premise, right? Mind you, not domestic premises. The bill is very categorical on that. No inspector from the Cybersecurity Authority can come to your house in the name of inspecting a computer or a gadget. But if it's a service provider, an electronic service provider, a service provision that deals with computers, that allows third parties to access a computer, then the inspector is allowed, upon notice, to visit your premises and inspect those gadgets. Now, the inspectors are equally allowed, the authorities is equally allowed to go to court, secure a warrant, which will, as a third party, be incumbent on you to protect data that can be regarded as evidence over a period of time, sometimes 90 days, so to speak. Now, let me go specifically to this. It talks about cyberbullying and other online harassment. Now, here it says, a person shall not use the internet or any form of electronic medium or technology to bully a child or an adult. A person shall not use a computer or any other electronic medium to A, send a threatening message or level a lewd message to a child. Now, make sexual advances towards a child or persistently make contact with a child, whether or not the contact is acceptable or not. Another person where the contact is unacceptable. A person shall not create false identity online or false social media profile for the purposes of the following. A child, whether or not the contact is acceptable or not. An adult, whether the contact is acceptable. A person shall not use any online computer service or any other electronic device to track the location of a child, monitor the real world activities of a child, and track the location of another child. So in essence, these activities that go on social media, cyberbullying and what have you, if this bill is passed, it becomes criminal. Like you heard Kojo Oponkuruma say, now if anybody defames you online, you can bring a civil case against the person, them, right? But what this act, if it is passed and assented to by the president, it becomes a criminal activity, and the punishment is stated in here, more than 2,000 penalty units if you are convicted. And so these are some of the provisions that have gotten people unsettled, reason why there's this conversation. But the point must be made that the bill is not yet in Parliament. It's still at the consultative.
Well, I can't wait for this bill to go to Parliament. There are so many people that I want to...
you are always a victim of cyberbullying and many others.
Yes,
right?
so there are too many people I want to institute actions against. So, yeah. Thank you very much. As Ibrahim answered, he's the head of political desk in our parliamentary affairs correspondent. Let's head to the business world.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Beverages Association of Ghana has drawn the government's attention to the growing crisis of smuggling across the country's borders. According to the association, the illicit activity is causing the nation to lose billions of cedis in revenue each month. Ahead of the presentation of the 2026 budget statement, FABAG has urged the government to review the current import tax regime, linking the high cost of duties and levies to the surge in smuggling activities.
For the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association, Emmanuel Nti,
Let's now engage the Executive Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Reverend GHOne Aweneva-Azum. Rev, thank you very much for joining us. How much as a country, and as a group, have you estimated that we lose to these illicit activities every month?
Thank you very much and good afternoon to your viewers.
Good afternoon, sir.
The country is estimated to be losing an average of 300 million cedis monthly through these smuggling activities. Essentially, you will realize that the number of containers that come into the country through the ports has drastically reduced from an average of 2,000 containers per month to 660. And that of Togo border ports has increased from 2,000 containers per year to 2,200 containers per month. What it means is that all the duties and taxes that were supposed to be paid to the Ghanaian government is being taken to Togo, and when they go to Togo, they bring them in by road. And that is what is the problem here is because it's not as if when they bring them in by road, they pay the appropriate taxes. They don't pay the appropriate taxes. They end up paying bribing their way through custom officers and border officials. Some of them, they pass through unapproved routes and they bring it into the country. And that is where the government is losing massively. So we are very much worried that a government that is crying for revenue, more additional revenue to meet their targets and all that, should not sit at aloof when this thing is happening. It is a very, very dire situation now. It is very alarming. It's a crisis situation because as they do it month by month and nothing happens, they are being emboldened, and these networks of criminals are becoming very much emboldened and giants, and the government is losing massively. as directly from the tax, the import taxes, and also indirectly through taxes, because that tax, other taxes they should have paid. When they bring it in at the blind side of the government, VAT obviously is also evaded. And then also they sell below the market price. And essentially, the country at the end of the day suffers because the legitimate companies, the companies that are set up here and bringing their goods in through the thermoports and the approved routes cannot sell their goods because they are being shortchanged. And if they cannot sell, they can't pay the appropriate taxes to the government. So at the end of the day, it is these criminals that end up benefiting at the expense of the state and at the expense of legitimate businesses. And that is why we are very much worried about this situation, because it is at the crisis level now. It appears it is almost a legalized thing.
Okay. Rev, thank you very much. That's Reverend John Awele. He's Executive Chairman for the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Now, the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association within the Central East region has issued a distressing appeal to the Electricity Company of Ghana and the government demanding immediate payment of 9 months' outstanding salaries owed them by Men Energy Technology Company Limited. The contractors were engaged by Men Energy to install new prepaid meters for ECG in 2022 have been allegedly facing significant financial challenges since January 2025 when their monthly payments were halved. Despite their work, they have been left with no choice but to seek intervention from ECG and government to settle their outstanding wages.
Chairperson for the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association, Emmanuel Nti, expressed his frustration and desperation, appealing to Men Energy to pay all monies owed. The contractors, who were engaged by Men Energy to install new prepaid meters for ECG in 2023, have been allegedly facing significant financial challenges since January 2025, when their monthly payments were halved. Emmanuel Nti lamented that they have worked tirelessly to install the prepaid meters and that it is disheartening to have 9 months' worth of their hard-earned wages withheld, which is the reason behind their engagement in a protest.
We have sent writing follow-ups. We have spoken to contracting officers, and we have reiterated our contractual obligations, and only 50% have been paid. This is causing real hardship. Our companies are struggling to pay our employees, and our families are suffering.
Some aggrieved contractors stated that efforts to channel their plight through the Electricity Company of Ghana to assist them in getting their salaries from Men Energy Management
Now, Vice President Professor GHOne says government's commitment to making Ghana self-sufficient in food production through targeted agricultural reforms, youth-driven innovation, and women's economic empowerment, delivering the keynote address at the closing session of the NORMAC International Dialogue in Iowa, USA. Professor Opoku-Agyeman said Ghana's agricultural transformation is not just an economic agenda.
Agriculture remains central to Ghana's identity and economy. As a country, we need to ensure a high level of quality for everyone, especially for our farmers. Ghana believes that she should be able to grow nearly all the food she consumes. Ghana's strategic reforms in agriculture hinge on greater resilience, innovation, equity, governance across production systems, nutrition, and trade. The Feed Ghana program is His Excellency President John Mahama's flagship initiative to accelerate transformation in a coordinated, market-driven manner. Complementing Feed Ghana is our Grow 24 program, which is part of Ghana's broader 24-hour economy strategy. Grow 24 is intended to modernize agriculture, mechanize value chains, increase productivity, and link agri-businesses to export and domestic markets.
That should do for the business news.
The Business Brief was brought to you by
You're welcome back. It's now time for the latest sports updates with Benjamin Yamwabengazi.
And you're welcome on to sports. Now, after a very busy weekend on the sporting front, especially for us in Ghana, we had games in the Ghana Premier League and some interesting results recorded, over the weekend in the Ghana Premier League. It all began on Friday. Heart of Lion were too good. They won 3-0 against Basake Holy Stars. Then Rihanna Stars also good at home as they also won 1-0 against Dreams FC. Then on Sunday, we had these results. Hearts of Folk were held by the defending league champions. Gold Stars were 2-2 drawn game at the Accra Sports Stadium. Mediema, who are now on top of the GPL, won 1-0 against Fedro All Blacks in Takwa. Karela beat Bechem 2-0. Samatex also won 2-0 against Hoho United. Then we had Nations defeating 11 Wonders 3-2 at the Kwame Chase complex. And then also Apostles drew 1-1 with Brekum Chelsea in the games played over the weekend in the Ghana Premier League. Meanwhile, Nations have another club split with head coach Kasim Mengo in a rather surprising fashion. The club announced that the assistant coach Johnson Smith is leaving the team as well. Nations revealed the split with the veteran coaches was mutual. Kasim Mengo has been sacked, or his sack comes on the back of Nations' 3-2 win over 11 Wonders in the home tie at Abra Stadium in the GPL over the weekend. Forward, Arnaud Emmanuel scored 3 goals for the Nations as they won 3-2 against Apostle. But Kasim Mengo now becomes the latest head coach to lose his job in a GPL after an earlier sack, if you like, by Bibiani Gold Stars of the former coach Stephen Frimpong Manso in the opening month of the ongoing Ghana Premier League campaign. To another bizarre story, and the Black Queens of Ghana refuse to train ahead of their return encounter tomorrow against Egypt in the ongoing WAFCON qualifiers on Tuesday. The protest over unpaid bonuses. Now, reports indicate the players of the women's national team, the Black Queens, are still owed about $9,500 each in bonuses from their bronze medal campaign at the previous WAFCON held in July in Morocco. Tournament ended, as you all know, in July, but the promise of a bonus payment has yet to be settled by the ministry. The team has threatened to boycott the first leg in Egypt, but eventually honored the game after several high-powered interventions came the way of the Ghana team. However, the tensions are still high, and I'm told they were even worse off last night after they met with the sports minister, whose words, I'm told, were not too good for the girls. And so the girls still, we are not too sure they will train today and play tomorrow or yet. But well, we are still monitoring to get you more updates on the Black Queens team, who are in Accra, though, at the hotel, but have refused to train since they arrived in Ghana after the game played on Thursday in Egypt. That's a very sad one there, clearly, for the Black Queens. So that's how we end sports. Back to you, first, Lily, for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you very much. Let's head to the foreign front. On the foreign front, Ivory Coast is going for its election, and preliminary election results suggest that Ouattara is leading, which gives him another term to lead that Ivorian nation. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Lily Mohammed. For more news updates, kindly log on to starfm.com.gh. On behalf of the entire team, led by Eko Boache, we say thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.